Hello and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and now is the time for you to call 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. We'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air immediately. That's right, because we're live. Can you believe that? A live show on Sunday? Yep, well, it's true. And all you have to do is give us a call, 616-774-2424. You can also email me, David at davidcarrierlaw.com. How easy is that? Easy to remember, right? David at davidcarrierlaw.com. Or you can drop us an email. There's an email. Or you can use the snail mail. Apologies to postal workers, but anyway, snail mail. Just go to the website. You'll see our address is right there. The website, here's a big surprise, davidcarrierlaw.com. Could we make it easier? If so, I don't know how. But maybe you've got an idea. And if you do, send me an email, David at davidcarrierlaw.com, and we'll make it easier for you. That is, if you have a question, comment, or concern about wills, trusts, or probate. That's that estate planning stuff. You know, powers of attorney. Everyone's like, ooh, you know, leap tall buildings in a single bound. You betcha. If you have a power of attorney, you can do all that. Also, elder law, which is that part about the law where we hang on to your stuff, real estate, and business law. We got a business law thing coming up. We're going to be talking about the giveaway. It's a giveaway. Let's admit it. It is. Yes, it is. But they're giving money to everybody else and their brother and their sister and their long-lost relation and people you don't even know. So, you know, you paid in. Maybe you should get a little bit back out. That's how I feel about it. We'll talk about that. The employee retention tax credit. It's a big deal. You've heard, you know, I've written about this, you know, for months, and we're finally getting people to start and wake up a little bit to the possibilities, especially now that we got a recession on. You know, we'll talk about that. Also, so if you have a question, comment, or concern about any of that stuff, now's the time to call 616-774-2424. That's the studio number. Now, you can also just go to the website. It's on the website. Or you can call us 800-317-2812. 800-317-2812. That's the number to call anytime. And you probably get the voicemail, but hey, but during normal business hours, we do our very best, to have a live person answer the phone. But sometimes we get a lot of people calling in at the same time. Anyway, so let's talk about the insanity of student loan, whatever. If you get the Sunday paper, you see I spent almost a whole page on it. Unfortunately, I thought this was about cottage loans instead of college loans. And so most of it's directed at, imagine they had forgiven cottage loans instead of college loans. Imagine. How would you feel about that? All right. 87% of folks in America do not have a 4-year college degree. 87%. So who's getting the benefit of all this? I think it's 87. Anyway, it's in the paper. I wrote it down there. Based on the best information. But it's crazy. Oh, and we got Scott on the line. Hello, Scott. Welcome to the David Carrier Show.
Good morning, Mr. Carrier. How you doing today?
I am just perking and working and having a ball, I got to tell you. It's a great day in the neighborhood.
Very good, very good. I am doing a follow-up. I talked to you several months ago about deed restrictions. Mm-hmm. Where an organization put the right to purchase the properties back when they sold it to the next owners.
Yeah, right of first refusal, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So I contacted the organization. I found out who it was. The person that's in charge. Contacted the organization, and they made the statement verbally that we have no interest in buying these properties anymore. And of course, that's the current person in charge. And so now the question is an email of that statement good enough, or do I need to get some type of, for lack of a better word, a waiver? I'm not sure what they would call it, actually, for them to sign to record with the deed, where they waive the right to execute that.
Right. So there's kind of two ways of going about that, right? One would be a general release, just to get recorded. Statutorily, in the law they call it an affidavit regarding interests in land. Okay, so you can do an affidavit regarding interests in land, or abandonment or something like that, and you can record that against the property. So the organization, it wouldn't be the person you talk to necessarily, and you'd have to make sure that whoever signed off on it, that the process behind it was done properly. Okay, so if it takes a resolution of their board of directors, or if the president is authorized to do it, or whatever, you need to make sure that, number one, the email's worthless. Okay, whatever they tell you, that has nothing to do with anything. Let's clear the decks on that one. But it does encourage you to say, hey, maybe I should put a couple $100,000 into hiring Dave Carrier to write up 2 pieces of paper to get this done. You know what I'm saying? Just saying. Yeah, right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, It does give you some encouragement to move ahead, but you want to get it done correctly. So number one, you got to look. Somebody's got to look, and I would suggest a lawyer. Look at the minutes. If it's a charity, they should be available. Look at what they have to do to take an interest, or refuse an interest, or release an interest. You got to find out who has authority to act for the organization. That's number one. So you want to be dealing with somebody who can actually do what you want them to do. Number two, they have to do it. Okay. All right. So lots of times to get, like, when you want the city council or whoever in the city or a township or whatever to release interests and stuff, you don't wait for them to do it, because you wait till kingdom come. So you put it all together for them, so that it's very easy. It doesn't cost them anything to do it. They don't have to go to their attorneys. Now, the attorneys have to review it, but you put all that stuff together and then petition for them to pass it. And this is what you do with government. You have to do the same thing with private organization. Otherwise, you'll be fiddling around forever. I mean, people are busy.
Okay.
Okay.
Along that line,
yeah.
A related question is, in this affidavit, could you have them put in a testing statement that they are the ones authorized?
Oh, absolutely.
Make it a testing statement?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
The responsibility for, that. Okay.
Yeah, and the way to do it. So those are the first couple things. Then the way to actually do it is, one could be just a general release to the world at large. The other one could be a quit claim deed, because a quit claim deed can do this, where they quit claim. Are they using the property now? Is that the idea? Or these are the folks who have right of first refusal if you decide to sell it, right?
It's just they have the right of first refusal if the current owner decides to sell. That is correct. So
then they could quit claim. This is what a quit claim deed is, right? A quit claim deed says, I don't know what interest I have in the property. I might have no interest. I might own the whole thing. I don't know. I might just have a right of first refusal. But whatever interest I have, I'm deeding back to the current owner or to an individual. And that's that's the easiest way to do it, really, because then you don't get into the, you were releasing it under the 1967 documents, but the 1973 documents are something else. And with a quit claim deed, it's over and done. So that's why we would prefer the quit claim deed, because that releases all interest of any description. Now we're here, it's done, not hereafter, but done at any time.
So in that quit claim deed, which I think I appreciate that. It's a great idea. I didn't think about that. Can you specifically state I'm quit claim for whatever interest I have, but then specifically reference the? Oh
yeah. Absolutely right. Okay. Absolutely right. So you say hereby quit claim to Scott any and all interest we have, including without limitation. That's what we say, including without limitation, the right of first refusal in the deed recorded at Liber page blah blah Kent County Records number 12345. Okay. So and you say the board of XYZ charity duly constituted pursuant to its bylaws enacts the following, or quit claims to so and so. So you would put that kind of stuff in there so that you have what we call a prima facie case, a basic case that they had authority, they knew what the hell they were doing, and they were doing it. So they can't come back later and say, oh, we didn't know. We thought we were giving up the right to pick dandelions. No, they know exactly what's going on. Okay?
Very good. Very good. I appreciate it.
No problem, Scott. Thanks for calling. Thanks for following up. I like that. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Hello, and welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I hope you're coming out. Going to give us a call, 774-24-2424. Remember, everything you get on this show is radio show advice. That's right. What's radio show advice? Radio show advice means you can't sue me for malpractice. Ain't that great? That's the thing with being a lawyer. Everything you do gets you sued for malpractice. Of course, it's been, 40 years now, since 1982. Yeah, 40 years. Haven't been sued yet. Woo-woo! Let's keep that. Haven't been anything else either. Anyway. I'm calling from behind bars. Anyway, I'm doing this from behind bars. Anyway, that's the thing to remember with radio show answers, and some people don't remember this. It's not based. I haven't seen the documents. I haven't seen anything. I'm just taking in what you're telling me, and responding from there. Which doesn't mean it's bad advice. Which doesn't mean it's wrong. We try not to be wrong, but just so this is why the tagline at the beginning of the show, it's the best advice is to seek good advice, unique to to your unique needs. Well, which is true, because then you can actually dig into stuff. But anyway, it's good guidance. Anyway, I think it's worth doing. That's why I've been doing it for, I don't know, it's more than 15 years now. Isn't that amazing? That's amazing to me. Can't believe I still have an audience. Crickets, you don't. Anyway, what are we talking about? Oh, yeah. The hits just keep on coming, don't they? First of all, we spend enough to build 75 aircraft carriers. 75. When the last time America had 75 aircraft carriers? They never have, not even during World War II. But we just blew in enough money on this Inflation Explosion Act, whatever the heck it was, because that's all it's going to do. And they're just shameless about it. They're just absolutely shameless. For what? And nobody really knows. But the thing is, things keep shaking out of this thing. Do you remember back in the day, there was a female politician who said about the health care bill, this is Obamacare back in the day, and it got to be kind of famous, but it is sort of the way Congress looks at these things. And it was one of those, it's what they call a gaffe. It was a mistake because they accidentally told the truth. And what this female politician, very powerful person, very powerful, has a drunk husband. Well, I don't know, he's always drunk, but he likes to drive drunk apparently. But he got off on that one because he's married to a politician, so no problem. See if you can guess who I'm talking about. Anyway, she said, you have to pass the bill to see what's in it. Like you can't figure out what's in it until you vote on it. And then, then you'll find out. Well, we're finding out things that are in this Inflation Explosion Act, the way to really, truly bankrupt America, because they couldn't spend trillions of dollars telling you about it, so now they have to hide it, okay? So how are they going to impose trillions of dollars of costs on America and claim it only $750 million? Well, wait till I get to the bit about student loans. That's another thing that, if that doesn't put your hair on fire, nothing will. Nothing! Anyway, what shook out of this inflation thing, which they passed, bunch of idiots, part of it was destruction of small businesses that act as independent contractors. Now, why do bigger businesses like independent contractors? Well, because you don't have to account for them as employees. Well, what's the matter with that? Here's the matter with that is, okay? Now you get sued because, you've got the wrong mix of employees, age, everything else. Where you got an independent contractor, you hire him or you don't hire him. And the thing is, the vast majority, like all of the independent people acting as independent contractors, they like doing it, right? If you're an Uber driver, you're an independent contractor, right? So you show up when you feel like showing up. You don't want to take the right, turn your box off, or Lyft, or any of those. You know, and do DoorDash. You want to be one of those shopping people. All the rest, they're all the independent contractors. Not anymore. Now they have to be employees. What does that mean? It means they have to show up at a certain time. They have to do the job a certain way. And then what? And then who's responsible for them? What if they get into a car accident along the way? Workers' comp, right? Oh, now we sue the employer. On and on and on. So how many people are going to do Uber anymore? How many people can do Uber? Can Uber stay in business? And when I say Uber, that's a stand-in for all the other services that have sprung up, part of it through the pandemic, right? All these independent contractors, they're not independent anymore. Okay? And the big company doesn't want to be responsible for it, so they just shut down. You say, oh, no, there's money to be made. They won't shut down. Look around you, please. All right? We've got clients in small business, various kinds of small business, who are losing money not because the business isn't there. Business is there, but losing money on a monthly basis because they can't find anybody to do the business. Okay? They can't find anybody. Why can't they find anybody? Well, because there's other stuff going on. Oh, like driving for Uber, I suppose. Well, maybe that's a good thing, right? Now all those Uber people are going to be out of a job. They won't be able to do that anymore, so now they'll have to go back being wage slaves. You want to be a wage slave? That was a very popular, that was very popular back in the day. But this is another thing that they snuck in. You know, I'd probably make a whole career, you know, rest of my life, I could probably be picking that thing apart. There's thousands of pages of it. You think they didn't load that sucker up like a freaking Christmas tree? And these are just the big things on that, you know, the $750 billion, good enough for 75 aircraft, get nuclear powered, right? And I'd settle for 50. You just give me 50. And then you'd have 250 billion more, right? To put big screen TVs in there and, you know, and actual urinals, because I guess sit-down toilets are better or something. I don't know. The new aircraft carriers don't have any urinals in there. They're all sit-down toilets. I wonder why. Supposedly they clog less. How is that possible? How's that even possible? What are these? See, these are the questions that you tune in for, right? They're saying that sit-down toilets on aircraft carriers clog less than urinals. How is that even possible? But they're saying, oh, no, we're going to put in sit-down toilets. Oh, it has nothing to do with women in the military or women in the Navy. No. It has nothing to do with that. It's because urinals clog more often. What? How's that even possible? How could you find somebody to say that? I mean, what are these Navy guys doing with the urinals? What are they throwing toilet paper down the urinals? Don't they know how to? Listen, like I say, though, that's why you tune in, right? We answer the big questions around here. Unisex bathrooms, and they're all sit down. Wonderful. Great. That's progress. Well, anyway, for your $10 billion, you could get sit down toilets everywhere. And, you know, who knows, ping pong tables and everything else. But do we get our 75 aircraft carriers or even 50? Give me 50 and we'll decorate them with the other $250 billion instead of buying 25 more. No, we can't do that. How about buy some airplanes with them? Why not? Well, you can't do that either. Instead, it's not only the money, it's all the other little things that they've thrown in. And what we discovered this week is they've also given the Environmental Protection Agency the right to shut down your lawnmower. You know that lawnmower that you push around, you get some joy out of it, you know? Or maybe you have a ride on or something like that. Well, that thing produces, you know, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and everything else, which the EPA is now authorized to regulate, which means that somebody in Washington is going to decide whether or not you need to mow your lawn. You know these ozone action days? Oh, please don't mow your lawn. They say, please. They're not going to say please anymore. They're going to say, don't mow your lawn or we're locking you up. You don't believe this? Go to California where you can get locked up for watering your lawn. He said, well, that's only fair because California doesn't have any water. Yeah, well, why doesn't it have any water? dig into that one a little bit. But that's where we're. I mean, and God knows what else is in this bill. Well, it's not a bill anymore. It's a law. It's statute. It's Congress. This is the law of the land now. And listen here. We'll keep you updated as more. You shake the tree, more stuff falls out of it. You know what I mean? I wish I had one of those those Christmas tree things? You go chop your own Christmas tree. They put it on that shaker thing, and birds fly out, rabbits and raccoons and stuff. We need one of those for these laws before they pass them. That's what I would say. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and now's the time for you to call 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. We'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air. That's right. You get an answer right away. How delightful is that? Well, pretty delightful. Anyway, you can also email me, david@davidcarrierlaw.com, david@davidcarrierlaw.com, or send us a regular mail at the home office. Just go to the website, davidcarrierlaw.com. You can sign up for one of our workshops there. One of the things that it's amazing to me that so many folks think that estate planning is about what happens to your stuff when you're dead, and yet you're not dead. Okay, this inflation stuff is going to last a long time, and what you wind up doing is leaving your stuff as it happens. You're leaving your stuff to the nursing home. I say disinherit the nursing home. Why don't you do that? You want to disinherit your kids? You're already doing that. Just keep on this. Oh, I'm going to avoid probate, save taxes, get it to the kids. Ain't going to be anything left for the kids, my friends. Ain't going to be anything left. Disinherit the nursing home first. Why don't we do that? And then we can worry about the kids. Just a thought. And that's what we cover at the workshop. We talk about the real cost of long-term care. Just a little dose of reality, if you're wondering how it all works. So number one, the legislation is not in your favor. Here's the other thing. Okay, so we talked about the $750 billion that isn't going to buy new aircraft carriers or anything good. Yeah, I mean, look, I'd settle for bridges. Wouldn't you settle for some bridges? How many bridges? If you could buy 75 aircraft carriers, and those things are freaking huge, and they're hard to put together. They're expensive, right? But you could buy 75 of them. How many bridges could you build? You don't even need an atomic reactor in those things. You know what I mean? You don't need you build them and you kind of leave them alone. Paint them once in a while, right? You don't need thousands of sailors, and you don't need aircraft, and you don't need all the bombs and stuff. You don't need any of that stuff with a bridge. Let's build some bridges, huh? Can we use some bridges around here? Maybe some railroad tracks? I don't know. Stuff that would actually help people. How about that? Well, no, forget about it. So that's one. What else? What else are they sticking it to? How else are they sticking it to us? Us people who pay the tax. Of the people, by the people, for the people. Yeah. Thanks, Abraham. Those were good words, and I'm sure you meant it, but that was over 100 years ago. It was quite a while ago. So anyway, what else we got going on? How long ago was that? 1864? It was 1864, wasn't it? So how long? That'd be 160 years ago? That's a long time. Anyway, I refer, of course, to the Gettysburg Address. Anyway, what else are they? How else are they do? Oh! This student loan thing. Don't you love that? Don't you love the student loan thing? And they're saying, it'll be $300 billion. $300 billion? Is it 300? So yeah, I think $300 billion is what they're saying. I think that's right. $300 billion. And they figure that because they figure there's $10,000 each for the 30 million who owe money. Okay? So, and the thing is, whenever the government gets involved in lending, they have to give the government the authority, because if you don't say it, they don't have it. They don't have the authority, right? So you have to give them the authority to compromise loans, right? So if you've got somebody who, for whatever reason, can't pay the thing back, right? And you sued them, and you're trying to collect the money, and all the rest of this stuff, and then you say, well, okay, we'll settle for so much. You have to be able to settle it, okay? That's just basic, okay? Just basic. You've got to be able to settle a disputed case. Now they're saying, well, because you could dispute it, in a good faith effort to get back the taxpayers' money, which is your job, uphold the Constitution and carry out faithfully the laws of the land, meaning if somebody owes you money, you collect the money. You gave them money, you're supposed to get it back, right? But there will be times, everybody gets it, there will be times when you can't get it back. So you say, well, look, I'll take 50 cents instead of $1. Okay, fine. But it was never meant to turn it into a giveaway. And the worst part about it is the lies. Just a flat, stupid lies that they're telling you. They say, oh, it's $300 billion. Okay, there's another 30 aircraft carriers. For those of you who are keeping up, right? It's $10 billion for an aircraft carrier. So every time you see, they're going to spend $30 billion, say, okay, that'd be 30 aircraft carriers. You know how many aircraft carriers we got right now? 11. That's by law. They can't retire another one until we build another one. So, there you go. So we got 11 of them. All right, we're talking about 3 times as many brand new aircraft. So we have 4 times as many aircraft carriers as we do right now. Just think about it that way. Think of how much steel it takes, how many nuclear reactors it takes, how many sit-down toilets it takes for an aircraft carrier. Well, that's what all right? So take that $1 billion number, divide by 10. We could have had hundreds of them. Think about it. I mean, what was it? A couple of $1 trillion first go around. We could have had hundreds with all the training and everything else. Okay, maybe only 100. But anyway, so the student loan thing, here are the lies that pile up. I mean, number one, they have no way of doing this. They have no way of checking any of it. So you thought that there was fraud with PPP, with the whole COVID giveaways. You thought there was fraud there. Oh my God, this is just how does he say it? Exponential? He doesn't say exponential. He said exponential or whatever the heck. Anyway, I mean it's just huge fraud, and it isn't even true because. See, what they're doing is saying, well, $10,000 forgiveness times 30 million borrowers. Yeah, well, 2/3 of those folks, okay, also took out Pell Grants, and it's $20,000 for them. Are you with me on this? It's $20,000. It's not $10,000. So now we're talking 570, because there's 37 million Pell Grant people. What is it? 27, I think is what the number was. 27 million Pell Grant people. Okay, so that's $540 billion, just basically, just write it right off, meaning take the money out of your pocket and give it to the people who went to college, which is fine, going to college. I have no problem with it, but I jumped out of airplanes to do it. Why not them? Put them on one of those aircraft carriers we just bought. Okay, sail that around the world a few times, and okay, then we'll consider paying off your student loans or whatever. Maybe you don't even need a student loan. And most ROTC cadets, they don't get a scholarship. Most of them don't. They're doing it for love of country. Well, I love my country, but I also, they also paid for Notre Dame. Thank you, American taxpayers. But I paid for the room and board, so I still delivered pizzas every week. I'm constantly working. But anyway, that's my story. But are you with me on this? So they're lying there. They're lying about how much it's going to be. And when we get back from the break, because I think we got another segment. Yes, we do. So when we get back from the break, I'll explain to you how it's not $300 billion. It's not 57 or 54 billion, which is just basic math. And back in the envelope math, you can figure it out, right? It's actually going to be trillions of dollars. Trillions. With the TR, trillions. And remember, for every $1 trillion they spend, you could have 100 aircraft carriers. Or God knows how many bridges. Probably thousands of bridges, for all I know. Anyway, you're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, still your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm still David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And if you want to find out how personal, give us a call, 616-774-2425. 24. Now look, it's not like I'm unsympathetic to people who like to get free money from the government. I'm not opposed to that at all. But if you borrow, don't you think you should pay it back? And I understand this hardship, and I understand that this will be a wonderful thing for a lot of folks. Some of our team members, for example, I have family members who will benefit from this. Okay, so it's not like I'm unsympathetic to it. I am, but the question is, who pays? The weekly column. I talk about this as, the joke was, hey, it's important to go to cottage, right? I mean, you learn a lot of things at the cottage, so let's have cottage loans. And how would you feel if the government just all of a sudden decided to forgive everyone who bought a cottage and didn't pay it off? Now the cottage is free. Well, substitute college for cottage, and you get an idea what's going on. And when you find out that it's the lawyers, it's the lawyers and the doctors and the MBAs, and it's people who went to graduate school, who are getting the most relief from this. What does that mean? It means that if you're a working stiff, if you're making the money, flipping hamburgers, putting together the sandwiches, working as a machinist, right, working the line, right, bagging groceries, checking out, stocking the shelves, if you're one of the people who's actually working for a living, right, working, I mean like physical labor working, all right, whether it's lawn and garden, show stuff, any of those things. You're actually working, okay? You're paying for the doc's student loans. Because now, and guess what? And this is the other thing that blows my mind. They don't care. I've seen some reports now, they interview doc, it's only $10,000, $20,000. Chump change. That's how they're feeling about it, right? It blows the mind that you should be paying for them to be a doctor and charge you God knows what. Or me. Well, you're not paying for me because, the funny thing is whenever people, they find out I'm a veteran and they're like, oh, thanks for your service. It's like, hey, listen, thank you. I mean, it was, I had an absolute blast when I was in the military. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but you don't remember that. 30 years later, you don't remember that stuff. You just remember the good stuff. And there was a lot of good stuff. People that you meet, the experiences you had. I mean, it's just net positive. Now, my son had a little, he was infantry in Afghanistan and all that. He had a little different experience of it. But still, I think on the whole, it was very positive. Me, I spent, as you know, I'm, other than training, I was what they call REMF. Ask somebody who knows, REMF. Romeo Echo, Mike Foxtrot. That was me. So I had a little different experience than a lot of you guys, but still, it was excellent. But they don't make them do that. I mean, it's literally go on, enjoy. Oh, and by the way, forget about paying us back. What? Now, I told you I was going to tell you how it gets to trillions. They're saying 300 billion, which is total nonsense because, 27 million got the Pell Grants, so it doubles it to 20,000, which means that it's not 300 billion, it's 540 billion, 54 aircraft carriers. Here's how it gets to trillions. If you don't think the colleges have figured this out, you're wrong. They figured this out. If you spend it used to be 20 years, now it's going to be 10 years, and it used to be 10% of your income over 3 times the poverty, which is about $30,000 a year. It used to be you had to pay 10% of your income over about $30,000. Okay, so you got your income minus 30,000, pay 10%. Do that for 20 years, and we'll forgive the rest of it, without regard to how much you borrowed. So if you're a doctor, a neurosurgeon, whatever, and it was wicked expensive for you to get all that education and training and stuff like that, right? 20 years later, forget about it. you don't have to pay the rest. However many hundreds of thousands it was, you don't have to pay the rest. That was the old deal. Then and the schools figured out ways to, you employ the doctors and you pay them this, and there's a whole shell game. Believe me, there is stuff going on, would curl your hair if you knew about it. But the schools figured out how to get them out of it a lot quicker. Okay, now comes this proposal. It's not a law. There's not going to be any hearings on this. There's not going to be any oversight. There's not going to be anything. They're just going to do it. Are you kidding me? Well, anyway, so what they're saying is, well, instead of 20 years, we're going to make it 10 years. Instead of 10% of your income, it's going to be 5%. Okay? So instead of paying it back over a period of time, right? So, I mean, I've seen some illustrations where the monthly payment went from $300 to less than $100. And 10 years later, no harm, no foul. It's all done. Goodbye. See ya. Ciao, ciao. Are you kidding me? For who? And who's getting the benefit from this? It's not the police officer who's struggling with student loan. They didn't go to med school. They didn't go to law school. They didn't go to, whatever other grad, they didn't get a degree in advanced barista. They didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do that. So they're going to get some relief. There'll be some relief for them, and that'll be a blessing for them. But this thing is not targeted, and that's not who's going to get most of it. That's what they're going to do on the news, They're going to drag out somebody, and they're going to say, oh, look, Officer Kelly here, he was struggling with his family, and now they got this, and now everything's wonderful, right? And what they're not going to do is they're not going to drag out, Professor McGillicuddy or Dr. So-and-so, the master cylinder. They're not going to drag out those people and say, oh, O'Houlihan here, he's got a thriving practice, all the rest of it. He was paying $300 a month. Now it's all free for him. Yay. Are they going to do that? They are not going to do that. And that's how it gets to trillions, okay? Because nobody knows. Nobody knows how much is out. We know that there's $1,500,000,000 out there in student loans, okay? That's how much is out there in student loans, which, of course, is a voting block that a certain political party would like to show up at the polls in a couple of months. Can you say corruption with a capital C? There you are, right there. It's terrible. And we don't know how much this bribe. What else is it? This election year bribe is what it is. We don't know how much the bribe is going to cost. But you know who it's going to cost? It's going to cost you. Middle-class people who work hard, pay their taxes, all the rest of it, and you thought the government was on your side. Hardy har har. This is how they... Oh, and by the way, thanks to the last bill they passed, you can't cut your grass on ozone action days anymore either. That's a prediction, not a... But that's where we're going. You can't see it? Give me a call, 616-774-2424. Hello, and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. You'll find the place where we talk about estate planning, elder law, real estate, and business law. What does that mean? That means that now you have to call me at 616... Well, you don't have to, unless you really want to, unless you kind of want to. Anyway, 616-774-2424, 616-774-2424. That's the number to call. Get your question, comment, or concern on the air. If it's estate planning, that means wills, trusts, probate, powers of attorney, going to guardianship, conservatorship, all that kind of wonderful stuff. How do you deal with it? We'll let you know. Also, elder law. That's the part where you hang on to some of your stuff. They want you broke. They want you dead. Well, I don't know if they want you dead exactly, because as long as you're not dead, you're still paying. So they want you broke anyway. And so, they feel bad if they leave change in your pocket. So how do we make sure that there is actually some leftovers for your kids? Maybe, and this, this is what I think. Instead, why don't we just disinherit the nursing home? How about that? Want to disinherit the nursing home? Shall we do that? I think so. And how do we do that while making sure you get the highest level of care? We'll get into that. Ask me how. I'll tell you. I'll give you chapter and verse. You know that. Easy to do, though, 774-2424. You don't have to go broke. You can get what you need, can get what your loved one needs. You don't have to impoverish your spouse. You don't have to impoverish your family, but you have to disinherit the nursing home. I'm just saying, give it a try. You might like it. Who knows? What can it hurt? Come to our workshop. Anyway, we also deal with real estate and business law. And now I want to be talking about the business law a little bit because, the whole first hour, pretty much, talking about some of the absolutely insane stuff. Look, they already spent trillions of dollars, right? They already did that. That was the first thing, the American Rescue Plan. Why don't they just call it America Circle the Drain Plan, or what drain? Yeah, the toilet drain. That's the one I'm talking. Circle the toilet. How about that? Why don't we just call it that? Circle the drain. It's almost a little bit too nice to them. But anyway, we already did that. And, of course, that wasn't enough. We needed another $750 billion that they admit to, which, of course, double everything because, they're lying to you at least half the time. And now all kinds of other things are shaken out of this, out of this, what do they call it? The inflation. What is it? Inflation protection or inflation something or other? IRA, inflation reduction. That's what it's called. Inflation Reduction Act. Well, anyway, now it's a law. Now we got to deal with it. And we keep finding out new stuff that comes out, and if you think that, it's fine for the government to tell you, you've got that. See, right now they're trying to push these electric cars, right? Have you noticed this? We're going to build electric cars. So we're going to give, what was it, $7,500, I think? If you buy an electric car, we'll give you $7,500. That was the deal. Now, why do you suppose they made that deal? Well, for reasons which remain entirely beyond my comprehension, they think that building more coal-fired plants, electric generating facilities, so that they can transmit and lose 75% of the energy in transmission and all the rest of this stuff. And don't take my word for it. This is thermodynamics. This is how it works. You burn coal over there, you stick it in, then you got to generate it, then you got to stick it in transmission lines. And first of all, you have to dig it out of the earth, right? And then finally, it comes down the plug into your vehicle. And you think, oh, that's wonderful. Free, clean energy. Oh, look how clean it is. I'm just plugging it in. Yeah, what about digging the stuff out of the ground? What about trucking it to the power plant? What about burning it? What about collecting all the bad stuff that comes when you burn it? And then what about the ash? What are you going to do with that? Oh, no, it's clean. You see, I just plugged it in. Easy. And that's where we are. Ta-da-da-da. Well, anyway, they said, well, that's good, which is incomprehensible to me. But anyway, they said, that's good. So we're going to give you $7,500. You want to buy one of them things? We'll cut the price for you because we think it's good. We'll cut the price by $7,500. They said that on Monday. What do you think the car companies did on Tuesday? Huh? What do you think they did? Okay, for all of you who said they raised the price of the vehicle, right, to capture the $7,500 credit, you get a cookie because you're correct. That's how they do these things. It's like college presidents. You know what I mean? You know what they call it? They call it harvesting. This is what they actually call it at the universities. Whenever they raise the student loan rates, the student loan limits, right? What happens? What happens then? What do they do next? The smart people at the universities, and they do have some smart people there, okay? I didn't say beneficent people. I said smart people. They get the smart people to figure out, well, how much can we raise tuition to harvest this new student loan money? You get universities out there, Harvard, Yale, the big ones, Roger Mudd, the engineering school. I think Notre Dame, right? Just to name enough, University of Chicago. It could be free. They don't have to charge tuition. They make enough on their endowment. It could be free, right? It could be free. They don't have to charge tuition, right? They have this educational mission. Great. Great. Take your investment earnings and pay everybody's tuition. Just go for the very best students and don't have to worry about who can pay or whatever else. You think they're going to do that? They ain't that dumb. They're not that stupid. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to jack up the thing until your brother, your sister, you have to mortgage your kids have to mortgage the house so the grandkids can go there. That's what they're doing. And as the student loans go up, the federally guaranteed student loans go up, the tuition goes up. To harvest. The Bible reading this week in church is about the when the master gives the people the money. I give you 10, I give you 5, give you 1 or whatever it is, right? And the punchline there is, oh, I knew you were a harsh master, and you harvested where you did not sow. Right? You reaped where you did not sow. You didn't do the work, but you got the money. That's what these people are doing. They're harvesting where they did not sow. Right? They did not plant the seed. They didn't water it. They didn't do anything. But they're going to harvest. They're going to harvest the money. And then they're going to figure out how, and this is what's going on with this tuition, I call it the cottage loan thing, with the cottage loan forgiveness. What they're going to do is they're going to figure out how you don't have to pay it back at all, other than a token amount for like 10 years. And I went to Georgetown, right? Georgetown's figured it out. I read an article about it. And so I don't attest to the truth of the article, but Georgetown has kind of figured out how to take advantage of the public service thing to get the student loans forgiven for their doctor, for the med students, and those poor med students who don't have any job prospects. It's just terrible for them, right? But they figured out how to do it. It's an abomination. But that's where we're living. So when you look at this situation, you got to say, well, wait a second, what is going on here? How is all this working? Where are they getting the money from? And the answer, of course, is they're getting the money from you, because you're the one who pays the taxes. You're the one who does the work. Right? Hard to get workers these days. Have you heard about that? It's absolutely true. Very, very. We have clients, business owners, having a real tough time, not because there isn't demand. There's demand for what they do. Yeah, there is. They just can't find anyone to do the work. Go to your local. Well, so my wife needs tires for her car, right? There's 4 empty bays, 3 or 4. I think they have 4 bays. 3 of them were empty, or 5, and 4 of them were empty. I forget which. Over at the Costco, getting the tires, right? Why do they have all these empty bays? It's not because people don't want tires. It's not because people don't want tires. It's because they can't find anybody to put the tires on the vehicles. They're doing 1 car at a time. They could have had all 4 bays going, but they can't find folks. Now, why not? Well, I guess we got to give more money away to the doctors. I guess the people who are actually putting the tires on the cars, who probably don't have a college degree, what have you, I guess we got to have those people pay for the lawyers, pay for the doctors, pay for the grad students, because those are the folks who are paying for it. They didn't get the degrees. They didn't have the fun of party time, going to college. They didn't have they didn't get that education. They got the dirt under the fingernails education. Good. Keep going and pay. Pay for the doctors. Pay, And that's why I joke about it. It's not college loan. It's cottage loans. It's cottage loan is what it is, because that's what these people spend the money on. Not all of them. But I mean, think how ridiculous it would be. Oh, okay, we're going to have a Tesla for, oh, you borrowed money to buy a Tesla? Oh, you borrowed money for whatever? Good, we're going to forgive that. But it's got to be some, and all the money, 80 some odd percent of it, don't quote me on this, but it's 80+%, is not going to the police officer who got a associate's degree. It's not going to the people at the, who went to ITT Tech. They're not getting the relief. That's not where the money is. The money is with the grad students, most of it. Who are the grad? And now look, if you went and got your degree in something you can't get employed in, pity to you, okay? But that doesn't mean I should pay for it. Doesn't mean you should pay for it. I don't get that part. But there are some things, and which can benefit people that you know can benefit you. The government's just shoveling the money out the door as quick as it can. Okay, got that. But are there things that can actually support the middle class? Surprisingly, the answer is yes, and we're going to get into that in the next segment. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm still David Carrier, sadly, your family's personal attorney, and you can still give me a call, 616-774-2424. That's area code 616-774-2424, and we'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air. It is kind of staggering what's going on out there. I mean, that's why we're talking about it, because it does affect you. It affects your kids. It affects your family. And people say, well, I thought you were a lawyer. Why are you talking about this? Well, it's laws. Okay, it's government. I think it has an impact. And here's the other thing that I get pushback on frequently, and so that's why I'm gonna address it, because when people push back on me, when people push me, I push back on them. So here's the thing. When people say, well, but you're talking about getting people qualified for Medicaid. Yeah, you darn tootin' I am. You're right. And here's the thing. When it comes to the student loan stuff, when it comes to the empowering the EPA to tell you you can't mow your grass with a gas mower, and listen, you don't think that's coming? You don't think? Is there anybody out there who doesn't think that they would like nothing better than on an ozone action day, instead of asking you, you think they don't want to tell you? Come on. Wake up. Of course they want to tell you. And it's all for your own good, right? Get the jab. It's for your own good. Do this, do that. It's for your own good. It's the science. That's what they tell you. Well, you know how that played out with the COVID. I mean, everything that's coming out now, you used to be able to get banned, right? Canceled, whatever. They'll cancel your thingy, your whatever it is on Twitter, which I don't do Twitter, but if I did, I'd gotten canceled a long time ago, probably. And now it's like, oh yeah, I guess you were right all along. Well, what about all the people who got shut out, shut down, and everything else when it turns out to be true? Well, it was the science then. Now it's not different science or something. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, I think this matters, and the reason I think it matters is because when you see laws, when you see regulations, when you see proposed executive orders that crush the middle class, people who work, people who save, people who paid off their college tuition, people who went to a different college because they couldn't afford it. See, when I went to Notre Dame, there was no way on God's green earth I could ever afford it. I had enough money for the first year. That's how much I had saved from paper route, dishwashing, you name it, student loan. I didn't take any student loans, but I had paid for the first year, and I was going to figure it out from there. I read stories about people working their way through college. I figured, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And of course, I joined ROTC immediately. As soon as I got there, I didn't even apply. I didn't even think about the military scholarship until I got there. And then it's like, hey, you got this one paid for with working and everything else, which I did during the school year. I did, as long as I've gone to school, I've worked, since I'm 7 years old. But you've done the same thing. I mean, you know what I mean? There are some people who think, oh, well, I guess things were so tough for you, humble bragging. It's like, the nice thing about this show is I'm talking to people who did the same thing, right? You know what it's like. It's like you did it because that's what you did. It wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't anything different. You did the same damn thing. I know you did. I talked to too many of you, all right? So we all did the same thing. But nowadays it's different. It is different because there's no conceivable way you can work your way through. I mean, now when it costs 25, 30, 40, because they're harvesting the student loan money at the colleges. You get a government benefit, the price goes up. That's what happened with electric vehicles. Just happened. And it was overnight. Okay, you can't miss it. The same thing's going on with student loans. They raise the student loan amount. The next thing you know, the tuition goes up. Okay, and there's seminars on how to do it. It's all out there. Okay, this is not, nobody's telling you about it, but it's not a mystery. I mean, that's just what they do, because it's what they do, because why wouldn't they do it? And what I'm saying is there's two programs right now. One that I've been focused on for decades, and that's the whole Medicaid thing. People have no problem taking their Social Security. Why not? They paid in. Have no problem with Medicare. Why not? They paid in. But people have a big problem. It's unfortunate, and it's making people go broke. People like you, who shouldn't be going broke, because now it's Medicaid, right? Middle class Medicaid is long-term care. That's what it is. You got to face it, right? But it's your tax dollars at work, same as everything else is your tax dollar. Oh, but this time I don't want to take that. I don't really understand it. I really don't. You paid in just like you paid into Social Security, just like you paid into Medicare. And we got people who are like, no, I'd rather go broke and get whatever level of care the government feels like giving me. Well, okay. If that's your theology, if that's your mysticism, if that's your whatever, who might argue with you? That's one aspect. Here's the other one. And it's we'll be talking about this more in the next segment. And there's a COVID leftover. And this is for business owners who employed people, right? So if you're a sole proprietor, it's not going to help you. If you didn't have employees, it's not going to help you. But if you had employees and you kept them on, right, during the COVID, like that's why you got the PPP money, right? The Paycheck Protection Plan. And that's why we got other, Paycheck Protection Plan. That's why you got it, to keep people employed. And you did. And then you didn't fire them. You know what I mean? Even though your lines of business were suppressed, everything else suspended like that. Even though your revenue was down, you kept people on. Okay. Well, there's a tax credit that's available. And people are fine. I mean, I've been preaching about this. I go back 2 years, back when they were doing it. You see my columns, we were pushing it. And now it's a matter of going back to those previous tax years and getting those benefits. And you say, well, jeepers, we'll get into that. That music means I got to get out. But we'll explain exactly how it works and what the changed circumstances are. And it's directly related to the other things we've been talking about today, to this trillions of dollars here and billions of dollars there and all this stuff going on. It's gone from, well, it'd be nice to get it, to you got to get it. That's what I think. You've been listening to The David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to The David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Is there a storm coming? You bet there is. And it's kind of here already. See, back when we still believed in COVID, or COVID was, the next plague and all the rest of this stuff, a number of government programs were set up to benefit small business. And what's a small business? Well, if you have less than 500 or fewer employees, you're a small business, as far as the government's concerned. Okay, so you're a small business. And back then, they said, we're going to give you 70% of what you're paying these people, right, for 3 quarters, and 50% for another quarter. So it's going back to 2020 and 2021, okay? So if you know somebody, if you're running a business, you got employees, and your accountant has said you got PPP, so you don't qualify for this, that isn't true. That is not accurate, okay? You got to there's a deeper analysis that has to be done. There's an awful lot of stuff, awful lot of misinformation, and I've talked to other attorneys who said, well, I already got all that done. I said, well, did you look at this? Did you look at that? Did you look at the other thing? And then, oh, surprise, they're getting tax credits against their tax based on the money that you spent for employees, okay? It's called the Employee Retention Tax Credit. Now you say, well, wait a second, I'm past COVID. I mean, here we are now. And I say, yeah, I get that. But we have a short window of opportunity, relatively short window of opportunity, a couple of years at the most, to go back if you didn't get the benefit before. And you say, well, yeah, but I'm past it. And, let bygones be bygones. I say, wait a second. Haven't you been paying attention? We're in a recession. They can lie about it all they want. We're in a recession. Okay? Business is contracting. Inflation is blasting through the roof. You can't find people. So if you're running a small business and you're telling me, hey, I'm fat, dumb, and happy, the happy days are here again, I say, God bless you. Well, good for you. You got no worries in the world. Everything's fine. Everything's hunky-dory. All right? You're not dealing with the effects of inflation. You're not dealing with having to pay people, a lot more than you used to because nobody wants to do the job and you can't find them anyway no matter what you're paying. Okay? That doesn't affect you. The real world has no effect on you. Okay? You're in the what is it? Munchkin land. It's all technicolor for you. All right? None of this stuff is happening. Okay, well, if that's the case, God bless you. All right? But what the government, this is how it seems to me to be. I mean, the whole thing with the nursing home, right? How does that work? You paid in, you should get out. I mean, I don't understand why that isn't obvious. You paid in, you get back. You pay in, you get back. Some problem with that. But here's the thing now, and it's the same way with the retention tax credit, with this tax credit, which can be worth up to $26,000 per employee. $26,000 per employee. Now, it has to be done like everything has to be done. Whenever you're dealing with government, you got to do it correctly. You got to do it correctly. And if you do it correctly, you don't have to go broke. See? And one of the things that seems to me that if they hadn't bollocksed everything up so badly, with this, with the, Save America plan, or whatever the heck they called it, when they blew in the trillions of dollars and they admitted to the trillions, or this one, $750 billion, which is going to turn out to be trillions anyway, it is. All right. If those things hadn't happened, if they just left the economy alone, then you say, well, okay, we'll get through it. Like we've had recessions before, we've had hard times before, we'll get through it. But when the government is out there messing things up to the extent that they're messing things up right now, it's like, how are we going to do this exactly again? Right? Where's the money coming from? Inflation is up. What does that mean? It means interest rates are up, and interest rates are up. Okay? Well, we'll borrow through, like you've done in the past, we'll borrow through this rough patch. I get that. I understand. Okay? But here's a government program based on your good faith during the pandemic. So if you're an employer or somebody who's an employer, for crying out loud, don't be leaving this money on the table. And if you listen to your accountant, and here's the conversation I've had so many times already. Oh, well, I talked to my accountant, I talked to my payroll service, I talked to whoever, they say we don't qualify. Listen, I got more people out there telling me that middle-class folks can't get Medicaid, that middle-class folks have to lose the business, have to lose the cottage, have to lose the life savings. All right? And for 32 years, I've been proving that's not true at all. But that's what people think. That's what people say when they don't know how it really works. What do you do about it? Well, maybe you get a 2-hour radio show and you talk about it. Okay, that's that's my answer to it. All right? It's like the voice crying in the wilderness, make straight. But that's what we're dealing with. So let's be as clear as we possibly can. If you were told that you're not getting it or you don't qualify for it or, PPP, that's the answer. Okay. A lot of people have heard that and have delayed. Well, okay. So now it's more work. It's more work to get the money. But we're in a worse spot now than we were back when they first. I mean, seriously, we're in a worse spot now than during the COVID. All right? If you've tried to hire anybody, you know what I'm talking about. and what's happening to it's contracting, right? The economy is going down. And the only people who don't know it, apparently, are people who write newspapers or talk on TV or something. They don't get it. They don't see it. But you see it. And what I'm saying here is, you say, oh, well, you're all against government handouts. And now here's a government handout. You're in favor of it. It's like, hey, would I prefer that there be no government handouts at all? Yes. Yeah, I think that'd be better. I really do. But I think when people pay in, right, when you pay for something, you should get something for it. Everybody, you don't go to a store and say, hey, Fred Meyer needs some money. Let's give him some money. For no reason? Are you kidding me? Why would you do that? You wouldn't. You don't. Nobody does. All right? So my thought is, hey, if I pay in, I should get back out. That's the deal we have with Social Security. That's the deal we have with Medicare. Why is it a different deal? Why is it a different deal when you need long-term care? How's that justified? How's that fair? How's that good? How's that, truth, justice, beauty in the American way? I have a total brain freeze when it comes to that. Okay? So that's with the long-term. With this stuff, this is different. All right, we're talking about an assault on small business through this thing where now the independent contractors, it's overstatement to say that they've outlawed independent contractors. All right, that's an overstatement, but it's not much of an overstatement. It's not much. You're an owner operator. Well, what if you got all your loads from the same place? What if you get more than 35% of your loads from the same place? Now you're an employee of that place. Do you think they want you around as an employee? Do you want to be an employee? You want to wear the uniform? You want to own your own truck, or you want to run theirs? You want to own theirs, right? Who makes more money? Who has more freedom? Who has more responsibility? Okay, if you want to be a small business, all right? This is the reality. This is the reality that we're dealing with. Okay, and so if I can get some of my own money back, and that's what this is. You paid money in. Again, one more time. You paid this money out, right? This is a way to get some of it back. Not all of it, but some of it. And in these crisis situations that we're going through right now with the recession and the inflation and all the rest, it's a miracle you get that small business going at all. Why not take a government handout? I don't think so. A government payback for what you've already done? Why not? I don't know why not. Give us a call, 616-774-2424. You're going to be hearing more about this as things get worse. We start looking for the solutions. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And here's the time. Now's the time. Well, you've got a few more minutes anyway, to give us a shout. Why don't you? 616-774-2424. You can always go to the website, davidcarrierlaw.com. Call us at the office tomorrow if you have a question about any of this stuff. I really do feel, with regard to this ERTC, they call it the Employee Retention Tax Credit. We have folks who who say, well, my business is doing fine. I don't need it. Well, okay, then give it back if you want to, right? We can do that. But we're not talking about the collection plate here. We're talking about taxes, and we're talking about a tax credit. In other words, you're getting back the money that you paid in, right? That's what's going on here. It's a tax credit. It's a refundable tax credit, which means that they'll write you a check, they'll credit it to your account if you want. Most folks are taking the check, where it's a deposit back. Because why not? Because in this era, and who messed things up for you? You stuck it out through the pandemic. You kept people employed. You did what good people do. And now here we are with rampant inflation, with a crazy recession, which they deny, right? And you know why gas prices are down? And again, this is all stuff that's easily available. I'm not saying anything that you can't look up for yourself from the federal government. I mean, it's on the government website if you look in the right place. The reason gas prices are down is because people are driving less. There's less demand for gasoline now than there was during the pandemic. You know, forget about the giveaway to China, apparently, and whoever else wanted it, of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is supposed to be our wartime stocks, you know. And so they just, empty that thing. You know, that's it. It's low. Again, go to the government website. You'll see how much they lowered it by. You know, it's crazy. But there it is. And, but that wasn't it. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, that oil. Well, a lot of drops in the bucket, but comparatively, not that much. What's really driving down the price is the fact that people aren't using as much gas. And you say, but I see a lot of cars on the road. Well, you see a lot of civilian cars on the road. You know what I mean? Regular people cars on the road. But economic activity has shrunk so that now the actual amount of gasoline being produced and used, and those two correlate very, very closely. Government doesn't tell you how much got used. They tell you how much got produced. And they produce gasoline in response to demand. So there it is, and you say, well, how much gas got produced? It's less than equivalent months in the during the pandemic. That's what's going on. And so if you're running a small business and you think you have the luxury of saying, well, I don't need to keep my employees going. I don't need to pay the, it's 16% wholesale inflation. What does that mean? It means that if you're running a business and you've got supplies coming in, you're going to be paying 16%, and I think it's more like 17, 70% more for them. All right? Well, the government taketh, and taketh, and taketh, and taketh. And this ERTC is one way that the government gives you back some of what you paid in. And it's amazing to me that more people aren't taking advantage of it. But it's not amazing either. And here's why it's not amazing. And it has to do with the same reason that folks keep going broke in long-term care when it's totally unnecessary. Unnecessary. You don't have to go broke. But they're doing it because it's complex. It's not that. Do you think the government wanted to make it easy for you to hang on to your stuff? Do you think the government want to make it no problem? Who writes these laws anyway? Who sets these things up? It's not the politicians by and large. It's the lobbyists. It's the people who work for wealthy people, wealthy interests. I'm sorry if I'm breaking news to you, but that's how it goes. All right? That is how it goes. And next week we're going to talk about this whole continuity of care thing. That's a whole nother mishigas right there. But the key this week, and I'm gonna keep beating this drum as long as I can. So get used to it, right? There's money on if you're a small business owner and you had employees in 2020, 2021, all right? Even if you took PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, even if you took that money and got it forgiven, all right, even if your accountant says, you're not eligible, as long as you didn't get back the full $26,000 per employee that you might be entitled to, you need to have that looked at because time and time and time again, I've told people, go ask your accountant, tell them these things, or see this guy, or see that guy, or come see us. We'll run an analysis for you. You are not, you're not alone. You're not alone in thinking that you're not entitled to this thing. It's the same way with the long-term care. But now you're talking about your business getting crushed. Well, if you want your business to be crushed, who am I to step in the way, other than to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. Just as we tell families, yeah, you can go broke in long-term care, or you can disinherit the nursing home and re-inherit your family. And more importantly, make sure that you and your spouse, while you're here, this is the most important part, make sure that you benefit from the, as my father would say, until more times than I can remember, the fruits of your labor. Your fruits of your labor. You know what I mean? That's how we judge people, by the fruits of your labor. By their fruits shall ye know them. That was a big deal for him. Fruits of your labor. Anyway, what are the fruits of your labor? Poverty? Really? That's okay by you, huh? It's okay by you to pay into the government and not see a nickel back. Oh, who am I to argue? If that's your attitude, okay. Let your spouse be impoverished. Let your family be impoverished. Give up the cottage. Give up your boat. They'll take it all. They have no problem with that. They'll say thank you. Well, they won't say thank you, but, you'll get that warm fuzzy of being impoverished. Won't that be fun? And in the meantime, the people who live their life on a credit card, they get it all for free anyway, which is another mind-numbing thing. Oh, and by the way, of course, student loans for your doctors and your lawyers and the rest of these folks, you're footing the bill on that. But the idea that you would get some help with the long-term care, that's off the table. Won't do that. Seriously? We are in a new world now. We're in a different situation. We need to deal with it differently. You've been listening to The David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal